Hi, everybody, or hello, party people. Uh, Doing a little bit of repair work for a neighbor. Uh, I have this piece currently clamped to keep the very cheap material that is the drawer bottom in place. Uh, what I'm going to be doing is cutting some pieces to make a frame to sit down inside of here, which will be a lot easier once I get some of that glue off. Uh, it feels like weather grade silicone. I see nobody's here yet, so I'll pop back every now and again. Let me throw a comment in chat if I can. No, okay. I have an idea. Go to Twitter. Yeah, Kingdom is in. Hi, Kingdom. How you doing, man? I'm just sending out a quick shill on my Twitter. Let me see here. Need to go here, there, then everywhere else. Yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of repair work today, or starting today. I don't know if I'm going to get it all done today. Let's see here. Share. There we are. And copy link. Could have just shared it directly, I suppose, but I already had Twitter open. Post. Do. Hey, comma, everybody! Exclamation point. Really? Hey, comma, everybody! Exclamation point. I'm currently live in the shed. Period. That will do neatly. Another woodworking stream? Yeah, basically it's just a shed stream. I'm going to be... There's some, what feels like weather grade silicone has been used to keep this drawer bottom in once before. And as you can see, it's flexy. The neighbor brought it down to me, asked me if I could repair both of them because he had accidentally stuffed them a bit too hard, blown out the bottom. So I'm going to put a small wooden frame inside the bottom, tack it down from the other side, and they should be serviceable enough. So what you're going to see today is going to be me, at the very least, using a tiny knife to strip out that glue, we'll call it, and then cutting. Hopefully I'll get it all done in the next couple hours, but I don't know how much trouble that glue is going to be to get out. I started at it the other day. It's extremely strong, which is why I figure it's probably weather grade. Just straighten out my tank top a little bit here. Get a bit sensible looking. So yeah, I have a little bit of work to do before I can actually do any noise making. So I'm going to actually bring you guys a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. And down a bit, and down a bit more. We'll move the camera over to the wall. There we go. Okay. So a lot of my tools, of course, were lost recently in a terrible, terrible bad choice accident. Actually, that might as well stay there because I'm going to need that later. So this has been both this one has been glued down and pinned with some small staples. Not very well. And yeah, it's essentially in very bad shape. So what I'm going to end up doing is cutting 1/2-inch strips. And then once I have the space made, I have to clear this glue out so I can get in there, and I can show you what the staples look like fairly easily, I think. If I can get a hold of this one properly. Come on. You were coming, you little bastard. There you are. So this will show you what the staple looks like. It's fairly short, but what appears to have been done was that they were used to as a sort of a retaining surface for the drawer bottom, and that's not particularly helpful to our purposes. Plus, the drawers are made of a, I'm going to guess MDF because they're not particularly heavy, but in fact the most weight on this right now is the clamp. What I figure is that this might be easier if I get it down here a bit more. There we go. So really what I'm doing is just scraping it. Oh, I see I've lost Vinland. Oh well, anyway. You guys know the drill. I'll check chat now in a little while. Every now and again. Come on. Now, have I got you loose enough to get you loose? Yes. Okay, good. Garbage bucket over here. There we are. Oops. Upside of that is it won't be visible when I'm done, so a little bit of cosmetic damage I just did won't matter. And talking to the neighbor, he himself said the same thing. He doesn't care about cosmetic damage, he just wants it working. So and that's why I have the needle noses. Oh, that was pointless. Okay. And there's another staple here, but it's pinned in so far that it wouldn't have been of any use anyway. See, here's your staple. Once it's pulled out, it's very narrow and very shallow, and if you drive them too hard and your purpose is to use them as a retainer, then you've driven them too deep. There's not much point in them being there, and they won't add anything to what I'm doing, so I'll just simply remove them when I can. Where I can't, I'll either drive them deeper or just leave them alone if they're not in the way. But I will say, if you're doing your own work, don't use heavy amounts of any adhesive when you're doing stuff like this. You want to keep your adhesive actually fairly light, because heavy adhesive really just gets in your way more than anything else. And at a certain point, if it's too heavy, it'll actually be a detriment rather than a benefit. Okay, I should have enough of that removed now. Gotta get a little deeper there. Okay, I think I'm actually going to have to open my door and my window. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. As you can see, it's a gorgeous day out. Just part of the reason I'm doing this today. And of course, because Newfoundland is a single-party consent jurisdiction, I don't need to worry about recording someone else. And I missed a comment there. What did I miss? Howdy, says Bas Ludwig. Hi, Bas. How you doing? I'm just trying to clean up this drawer around the edges of the bottom so I can put a wood frame in here. And this is one of the worst things about being a cabinet maker sometimes, when someone asks you to do a repair and they've used some sort of, this appears to be some sort of weather grade silicone. The good thing about that is it will work. The downside of that is if you have to do a secondary repair later, you need to get it off first. And I don't want to have to take this apart again, having gotten this slotted back in properly. I don't want to have to take this off again to finish the repair. So I'm just scraping out the glue where I can get at it. I've got most of it off this side. And this side is also already done. Because the neighbor who asked me to do this doesn't care about cosmetics. He just wants it to work. I'm not particularly concerned about using what is essentially a fairly coarse knife. Normally I'd use something like a razor blade or a box cutter to get in there. But this is actually, in a way, more effective because it gives you more meat to get into the slot. You can almost get into the slot down here. And with the very edge of the knife, I can get in there, which lets me get under the glue that was used to put this together in the first place. Or, sorry, to repair it in the first place. And we need to rotate this thing now. I suppose at some point I could take the tags off my clamps. Okay. No, I don't need to be on this side, I need to be over here. That clamp is not on as tight as I thought it was. There we go. And because of the nature of the damage to this, I really don't want to take this out again. Because with this flex, I'm going to have a hell of a time getting it slotted back into the rabbet again, which is why there's two clamps on it. I had to essentially three-hand this to get it back in properly. So, and as I say, this is definitely not the first time this has been repaired. There we are. The downside of this being that this is flat pack furniture. Flat pack furniture is generally made out of materials that don't lend themselves to being disassembled very easily. And which don't take a lot of tool work well either. And I don't know if you can see it on camera yet, but once I get this very gloopy bit of glue out, I'll bring it over to the camera and show you. That should come out now with the needle nose. No. Yeah, I was saying earlier that if you're going to use some sort of adhesive or gelatinous or semi-liquid adhesive, something like silicone or latex weather caulking or what have you, which, I mean, it'll work. So if all you really want is for it to be a functional piece, you don't have to worry too much about it being pretty. You can use whatever works. The downside is, like I say, if you had to do a secondary repair, or, you know, get someone like me to suffer through one, the first thing they're going to have to do is prep the surface. And with the amount of flex that this is currently going through, if I were to take these clamps off, it would literally explode back upwards because of the nature of the damage that was done to it originally, or initially, before it was brought to me. Fortunately, with a fairly sharp knife, this silicone stuff comes off fairly easily. Of course, it's down on the surface in some spots, fairly gloopy. Okay, this is also going to have to be repaired in this direction as well, because this is actually blown out to the side and broken, which I may very well have to take the clamps off to get at. I think part of that was caused by the relatively different expansion rates of the adhesive and the fiberboard. I'm going to have to move that clamp a little ways. Fortunately, it isn't flying apart at the moment, but yeah, that's in bad shape. That's blown to pieces there. This may not be 100% reparable, but I'll get as close as I can to functional for the neighbor. You can see, well, actually you can't from there, but there's a, let's just show you by dropping a knife in there. There's a break here, a good split down to about here on the face of this drawer, or the edge of this drawer face, which is very bad. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about this. I have some glue which I can throw in there and clamp it up, but that'll have to wait until I have this prepped. Hello, Mr. Spider. Why don't you climb onto my glove and I'll put you down here. There you go. And I'm very unsurprised that I have insects nesting in this after it's only been out here a day or so. Okay, now I'll show you what I'm talking about the gloop that was put on this. Come on, don't break there, break there. Good. Okay, so you can see there, this is the gloopy stuff that was way down in the corner. It's very difficult to get that to be smoothed out, unless you're willing to put your finger in it. And I guess whoever did this probably wasn't. Now I'm hoping, having gotten that corner loose, that cutting this way will get a lot more of that. Okay. And the funny thing is, you can see the strain on my forearms when I'm doing this. But it's not because I'm working so hard at it, it's because I'm trying to be so controlled so I don't do too much damage. But that'll show you how irritatingly stretchy this stuff is. Like that kind of flex, that's a good thing for, you know, weather stripping or weather sealing. Very bad for woodwork. You actually want it to be, I think that's the garbage truck going by, so give me a minute. There we are. Where did those go? can see how stringy that stuff is. Just to show you how much flex it actually has. And it's already at that point, and it's nowhere. There it goes. I was about to say it's nowhere near the breaking point, but that stuff being so flexible means it doesn't really hold things in place, and it tends to let them flex and move a little more than they should. And I found another staple. I don't think it's in my way though, so I'm going to leave it. Scrape this stuff out. Another issue too with using this stuff is that the MDF side here and the MDF side here have different moisture levels and will expand and contract in weather, in the humidity. And it tends to be a real pain in the ass to get things to stay stable when it comes to wood. A lot of people don't realize that wood furniture actually does move and flex quite a lot, but it has to be held together in a correct manner. Come on, where's those? Nah, there we are. Ah, you breaking bastard, come on. Nope. Another glob in the corner I gotta get out. Anyway, I have a tiny little bit left here, and then I'll sit down and have a chat while I have a smoke. And I've got to get this scraped a bit because that's going to raise the level of the wood frame I'm putting in too much. There we are. I will point out too that if you're doing something like this with LDF, MDF, any of the fiber boards, if you do go to blow them off, keep your eyes closed, unless you're wearing eye pro, in which case that's good too. But also be very careful not to breathe any of it if you can help it. The resins are not good for you. Says the guy who smokes. Okay. Come on. Nurse, forceps. Okay, we got one last little big-sized glob to clear, and then I'm done with that. And there are times when being practiced ambidextrous is very, very handy. Here we are, and I think one little bit there left, you guys. Okay. There we are. Okay. And of course, if I had a properly equipped shop, I'd have card scrapers and probes and all sorts of other items that would let me do all the work I'm doing with this and do a little less damage to the surface I'm working on, but it's not bad. Now I need to check for staples, and then I'm going to sit down for a minute. Okay, those two are good. They can stay. Oh, okay. A little bit of extra residue on the side. There we are. I think I'm pretty much done with that process. Okay, now I'm going to have to something set up there pretty quick, and then left. What I'm going to have to do is use one of the drawer pulls as a base and clamp this back together if I can, or at least pull it closed or close. No, don't want to do that. No, you want to slide because that's loose. Okay, let's try it there then. Get the right angle on it. It should stay in place. Oh, that's nice. Okay, and now I suspect there's something down here blocking this from closing up. Okay. Can't get that far. Let's move this plant back over this way a little bit. Ah, get off me. Okay, just to retain that. And not quite far enough. Okay. Bring it to there. Okay. And hopefully, actually, let's see if I can drop it down this way. Just a little bit. No. Okay, I'll just have to make do with what I can do with that later. Okay. Now then. Give me just a moment and I'll sit down and have a look at chat, folks. Okie dokie. Where are we putting you? We'll put you not there. You can come over here. Hope can sit there. There we are. Okay. That is, in fact, the garbage truck. Now, let's bring everybody down to my level. Okay. How y'all doing? Well, there's only one guy in chat anyway. Kingdom is still hanging around, I guess. Or possibly Boss. Either way, good to have you guys. Let's see here. Kingdom says, hopefully the new Indo-Pakistani war doesn't end in a nuclear war. Even a relatively small nuclear war could potentially cause a nuclear winter if that theory holds true, but honestly it's one I'd rather avoid testing because it could destroy civilization. Fair. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would say the current state of civilization deserves to be destroyed. I don't find myself amongst them. But my feeling is that my feeling is more that how to put it, it would be extremely beneficial. Hi Simon, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. It would be beneficial for everybody involved to not be involved. If it's India fighting Pakistan, I'm going to have to drop this thing down. Give me a second. There we go, that's a bit better. Tip that up, take the Dutch angle out of it. There we go. I think I unintentionally added a little Dutch angle in the other direction, but that's acceptable. So, yeah, as regards the India-Pakistan conflict, A, I don't care. B, India and China have held a non-nuclear détente state of conflict for quite a while. Simon says if he had to choose, he'd choose India. I don't want to choose. Again, as with Israel-Palestine or Ukraine, it's not our fight. These are non-Western civilizations that have decided to go to war yet again after thousands of years. If they choose not to get along with each other, there's nothing we can do about that. One religion will have to win and wipe out the other before this will end. And that's an unlikely scenario, no matter what happens. And yes, Simon, I understand why you would oppose the other side. To be honest, I don't think either side is, how to put it, an acceptable ally for the West. Neither side has the West's interests, or certainly not our biospirit, to use a Konism. But yeah, the thinking I have is I don't care. The downside is I live in Canada, and they're already fighting each other here, and they've been doing it for years. And yes, both are a problem. But anytime you want to tell me I'm right, I'm okay with it. I'd argue Ukraine and Russia is separate. Israel-Palestine would probably be the better comparison. Yeah, I could see that. There is, and again, the only reason I brought up the other two conflicts is to point out that they're nothing to do with us, or should be nothing to do with us. Holy crap, this thing's heavy. Yeah, I have a new drinking vessel for when I'm out here. It's very roomy. Currently, it's full of a mix of Arizona iced tea and a Gamer Sups drink. And it's quite tasty. I'm not sure what the flavor was. Gamer Sup. I got 3 of those free sample packets. 3 wars. Are we going for the record? No, not even close. I'm sure there have been other times in history where, and maybe modern history, but certainly in ancient history, where there have been far more than 3 wars conducted at the same time. 1815. Is that the Crimean War? Maybe. I don't know about that, though. I'm not a serious student of military history. Yeah, Kingdom does have a point. Israel-Palestine would be a better comparison, since we're talking about religions and rival religions. The irony being that Israel-Palestine both have the same religious root, which the Hindu Pakistanis, or Hindu and Muslims, do not. I could foresee a point where Pakistan and the Palestinians may align. I don't see a point where the Israelis and the Indians would. Although I strongly suspect the Chinese, if that happens, if the Palestinians, Pakistanis were to align, I suspect China may end up supporting both. Not because they're particularly religiously aligned, but because India is China's biggest rival right now for manufacturing and things of that nature, which is another good reason to bring manufacturing back to the West, as far as I'm concerned. What else? Well, no, I guess I'll leave that light on for now. Keeps me lit. Other than that, and I mean, I try not to get bogged down in politics doing stuff like this. This is where I like to get away from that stuff. I pick enough politically based fights on Twitter in the run of the day. What's going on in pop culture? You guys have noticed. I'm thinking about starting Star Trek Lower Decks, because I've heard some surprisingly good things about it. And there's a channel I've been following, Orange River, that I'll throw that on when I'm working, and they're doing a lot of Star Trek retrospectives. And while the guy who runs the channel does have a disturbing fascination with the Orion girl from Lower Decks, His opinions do sound pretty good. So, what else? Kingdom, the only reason I can see for the U.S. allying with India is to help fight China. The U.S. in that situation is going to be in a very bad position because they'll have two masters to serve at that point. China gets the majority of the import business from the U.S. of the two. And India, of course, now is providing a lot of their software engineers. Yeah, Iran is looking dodgy as well. Simon, you're right. Plus we have, what is it, the Houthis in Yemen. So I think a big chunk of what we're seeing is actually a Biden hangover. Where Trump had been the kind of the strongman of the world, we're seeing the effect of a very weak leadership on the global scale. And it's going to take some time for that to... Sorry, I'm itchy. It's going to take some time for that to be recovered from, for sake of a better term. In any case, I've had my smoke, I've had my sip. Let's get back at it. Where did I leave my knife? Okay, the tools are over there. Need my gloves. Yeah, so now we can start on the other drawer, which is going to be arguably more of a challenge because, like an idiot, I only bought 2 clamps. Well, like a poor bastard idiot. In any case, let's bring everybody back up to the higher level. You don't need to be staring at my cleavage. I don't want to be staring at my cleavage. You can see it's a beautiful day outside. And back to the drawers. We'll move these. Good thing about cheap tools is you don't mind beating them up. And just make sure I've got every little bit of... No, I don't. Okay. I thought I had all the glue off the back here, but I don't. Oh, not even close. There's an entire line of that there. Still. Okay, I have to move that clamp now. I thought I had this corner cleared. Sorry, guys. There we go. There's a nice big glob. Don't know if you can see it on the camera. Looks pretty dark. I may have to... There we are. Okay. I don't need to piddle at it, so... Yeah, this entire assembly is all fucked up, unfortunately. So this is literally a case of doing the best I can with what I've got. Okay. Now we're going to take a chance on removing these clamps altogether. And hopefully this drawer won't fall completely apart when I go to move it. Okay. That's good. Now, can I rack it more closed? Yes, I can. Good. Okay. There. Need a place to lay this down. So. Okay, hopefully the weight of the... Oh yeah, that closed itself up nicely. Let me shift it. Good. Oh, even the rabbit closed up. So, anyway. Okay. So, I'm literally doing the same process a second time. You guys get to watch me struggle to put this back together. Before I do that, though, I think I'm going to dig the staples out of the inside of this. So that will require this particular tool. Yeah. I'm going to have to change my assessment. I don't think this was actually flat pack, but it's made with the same sort of materials. Generally, you don't get staples like this in flat pack. Actually, I may have to change that assessment again because the staples are not uniform across the piece, which tells me they were added during some sort of repair. Probably the same repair that put the glue on these. I can't for the life of me understand why the staples were on this side rather than this side where the weight bearing would be needed, but yeah. Okay, and we've got a lot of staples. So I think what happened here, I think somebody tried to staple the drawer bottom back in after it came out. Come on, up you come. No, there we are. Yeah, it looks like somebody stapled down trying to toe nail, technically. That one's unreachable. I'll just drive them in a bit further. Yeah, what it looks like to me is somebody put the staples down, tried to staple them this way to try and keep the drawer bottom in. Unfortunately, it wasn't deep enough to be effective. So now it's a case of getting this to stay lined up. And this one doesn't have any glue on it, so I won't have to go through the rigmarole with the knife again, which is good. So I can actually start cutting. There we go. Okay, so I need... Oh, okay, you came loose. You shouldn't have. Oh, I see. As I tightened that one, this one came loose. Okay. There we are. So, what I'll be doing now is taking measurements on the inside. Those will be the first 3 cuts I'll make off of this piece of plywood. This is 3/8, I think, plywood, which should slot down onto this and be low enough that these runners should still work. Yeah, so it'll be a span here, a span here, and a span here across these. And then, actually no, sorry, I'm going to do that differently. It'll be the lengths here first, get them in place, and then it'll be across, and then I'll do a piece down here. I'm planning to use 1/2-inch strips off of this, so I have to cut this first, which I'll probably do just out here. I have a nifty little mini circular saw that I'm going to use for that. And other than that, yeah, it's just a case of you guys getting to watch me cut again. I think I have thinner plywood in the corner, actually. And if that's the case, I'm going to use that instead. I need my tape measure. It's here. What are you sitting at? You are 1/2 inch. Okay, this may in fact not be, 3/8. This is in fact 5/8. Okay, so this is not the piece I'm going to use. I need to store this again. Okay. Now, are both these pieces 1/2 inch? I think so. Yeah, they look like the same board, so. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to end up cutting wherever the, let me aim this a bit better. There we are. So I'm going to end up cutting somewhere in the middle of these two boards once I have the measurement for the length here and on the other one. Actually, I think what I might do is cut the lengths for that one first, because that's going to be my biggest cut. So first things first, I need to get measurements. Which means I need my pen. And yes, I'm still using the same erasable pen. Okay. Big. And small. Really? This is not acceptable. This pen should not be dead. I suspect it may be just old. There we go, it works there. Now, need measurements for the length and depth here. So this one is, I'll call it 13 inches. Deep times 2. And I'm going to have to bring that other drawer back up. And measure this one. Now, that should be 13 inches for this one as well, because they should be roughly the same, yeah. For depth, 13-inch deep times 2. Okay, now the length of this is going to be, really, 28. We'll call it 28 1/4. 28 1/4 out wide, minus 2 halves, so that's minus 1 inch. Okay, so that's 27 1/4. The length of this one is going to be 22 3/4, 21 3/4. 21 3/4 inches minus 1, so 20 3/4 inch. Okay, and I'll need 2 of those and 2 of those, and then 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. I'm going to need 2 at 12 inches. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to cut a bunch of 1-inch strips, or half-inch strips, rather. How many am I going to need? Well, let's see what the length is on those longer pieces here. There we go. Okay, those are more or less the same length, so I only need to measure one of them for the length. We're looking at 4 feet. Okay, so 4 feet. This is what we call optimization. At 4 feet, that is 48 inches. I need 13 times 4, so that's 26 times 2. 26 is more than, 52 is more than 48, so I'm going to need at least 2 strips each for that. Let's see, I'll need 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to cut half a dozen. I'll cut 6 inches, or 6 half-inch strips off the edge of each of these. The longest measure I need is 27 1/4 inches. So that should be right around here. I'm going to take 27 1/2 cut because I want to be able to trim the end. So I'm going to cut both of these at 27 1/4, and then I can discard this side, and this side then I can work with. So that way then I keep as big a panel intact as I can. Oh, where did I put down my brand new, fresh, dandy combination square? There it is. Okay. As that looks like a fairly factory square edge, we'll go from this side and give it a little bit of a smudging. Won't use that one. Since cosmetic isn't an issue, I'm going to use a Sharpie. And that'll give me a lot of wiggle room on my cut. And I'm not worried too much about having this end of the combination square on a square because I'm really just going off of this line. Okay. Now, clean that up again. Yep. Where can I hang this? Since I'm actually using it, I'll hang it on the door near me. And that will go, this can go up here. Mostly out of the way. Okay. So what I'll do is cut this one, and then I'll just take the other one, line it up, clamp it, cut the other one. And that will have to be done out here. Okay, I'm going to need my stands after all. Where do these come up? Okay. clamps, and this, and this. That's in the way there. That should be. Not deep enough. Of course. Deeper clamps, I wonder? No. Well, I've run into a snag. My clamps aren't deep enough to effectively work on that. So I need some cauls. And I should have a couple of strips about for cauls, but I don't. Thought I did. I have to make a couple real quick. Let's see, what have I got here? Here's for that. Nope. Don't want to use that. That's actually a decent wood. Mahogany cauls. Yeah, why not? Okay. Looks like I'm making mahogany cauls. That I can do with the handsaw, so you guys can't see what I'm doing from there. Let's see. There you go. Now you can see what I'm doing. All I have to do is cut some small pieces off of this to pad up the clamps on the bottom of the workhorse. For that, I can use, if I can find it, there it is, my little back saw. Come here. You're just going to be a nuisance if I need air, so. I'm just going for roughly square. I'm not particularly concerned about it. Okay, you're just in the way altogether. So down you go. There, now. Jeez. Okay. There we are. Two. Oh, fuck you, come on. Seriously? Okay. Not as intensely irritating. I'm on the end of my bench, so that's part of the problem. What? Fuck this. Let's try it like a sensible woodworker would. The clamp. That's nothing like square anymore. Oh, for God's sakes. How bad are these fucking clamps? Yeah, not exactly the most expensive woodworking table either. Forget the cutout this time. The tear out, I should say. Come here. You do out here too now, aren't I? Got that. That's the save piece. So I'll flip it this way. Kidding me. Oh boy, this is a nuisance. Okay. That one's just a bare retainer. Sorry about that. It turned out that my calls were not quite thick enough, so I had to use two on one clamp, and the other clamp then is just used for a slight retainer. And yeah, I'm going to sit down again because I'm in terrible shape. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm in pretty hard shape. But it's part of the reason for doing this is to get back into some sort of decent condition. What did I miss? 1815 all over again, don't forget around. Bottom falling out, draws. The bottom falling out of drawers is a constant problem. Women overfill. Indeed. The drawers in my ex's bedroom have reinforced bottoms. I did them for her. It's a good job. Pile clothes to the side height, not the front draw height. True, yeah. Yeah, you don't pile your clothes into your... Don't pile your clothing into the furniture at the height of the drawer face. You do it at the height of the drawer back. The very back part of the drawer, which can end up with some very, very empty looking space. Generally, that's how they're engineered. Generally. A little bit of Dutch tilt there to get rid of. There we go. Whew. Yeah, so the next thing I have to do is grab this little bastard. Tiny little 4.5 inch circular saw. And do some cutting. Oh. Did I seriously tighten that all the way up? No, I didn't. Somebody else did. I have to loosen a retaining screw here. One thing I'm very happy about with quite a lot of modern tools that you didn't get with some of the older ones. Okay, so that's 0. That'll be... Oh, it's in centimeters. Where's the inch mark? There it is. There's an inch, there's 3/4, roughly half. Touch more. Where's my 1/2 inch mark? God, that's irritating. The numbers printed on this. I'll just show you really quick. You can see where the centimeters are on top and the inches on the bottom, and the 1 centimeter marker is right on top of the 1/2 inch marker, but it's a little too tight to see it clear. Okay, that looks pretty good. Tighten that down, and of course it skips on me when I twist it, because I didn't pay a lot for this tool either. It's the joy of being a poor woodworker. Okay, that's good and solid. Lay that down. That is not going to work for a 1/2 inch cut. Oh, that's why I'm on the wrong side. I'm damn full. Never used this particular brand of saw before, so yeah. Oh, okay, there we go. Now I see what I'm doing wrong. It actually has a mark on the inside. There it is. Okay, that's 1 centimeter. Oh, that's irritating. The mark is on the centimeter side rather than on the inch side. So I'm going to have to guess a little bit for inches. Screw you, European bastards. Just kidding. I love my European friends. We all come from the same stock after all. Descendants of kings and conquerors. And in my case, possibly pirates. Okay, we're a little further than 1 inch, or 1/2 inch there. That should be good. Okay. Get that tightened down again. I notice my very pale skin is still blowing out my chroma. Let's see here. Women never seem to learn this simple trick. Well, this is the thing. Somebody has to be taught the trick to know the trick, right? If you're never taught a thing, you never know it. Trial and error doesn't generally work out well for a lot of things. It does look like it's on 0. It's as tight down as it'll go. Okay. And that should be at... No. Oh, that's depth. Okay. Well, we want it at least. Okay, greater is better. There we go. So yeah, this thing is handy and hand-sized. Given that most of what I cut, I generally don't really need a table saw for. It's handy. I will eventually need a miter though. That. And if I can, that's relatively small. I do have something that should suffice for a table saw. I have a tile saw that has a 4-inch blade on it, well, 4.5, same size as what's in the. Oh my, this mini circular saw. But yeah, the next thing I'm going to try and find is a miter saw that takes the same size blade, the 4.5-inch. The work I'm doing is fairly small scale stuff anyway. The downside with that is if I'm doing a larger piece of furniture, it's going to be challenging, to say the least. And of course, now that I've got the guide on, I realize I didn't need the guide for the first cut. So I had to take the guide right back off. And I thought I had a second Allen key here somewhere, but I don't. It would be the local wildlife. Okay, come out of there. What? Oh, that's nice. The guy actually managed to fall down inside the guard. That's not a good thing. Okay. So, I'm almost ready to make my first cut here. Lay that down gently. Hopefully it doesn't stress that drawer any more than it has to. I don't have an extension cord out here. Okay. I'm going to have to go and acquire an extension cord before I can make my cut. This is the... Why? Okay, yeah. I understand why there's a carrying case in with my earplugs. I don't understand why the earplugs don't come in the carrying case. And I hate these earplugs with a passion, by the way. I would never intentionally buy these for myself if I had any other option. Unfortunately, I had to go hunting for them today. And this was actually the only set of earplugs in the entire town. Next time I have an opportunity, I'll be picking up some of those spongy ones. Though if I get enough in the way of super chats, rants, merch purchases, I'll pick up a set of those ISO tunes. So those things look pretty good. Though I'm not particularly fond of reusing earplugs, so I have to step out for a moment, and I will be back once I have acquired an extension cord, which I could have sworn I had one up here. I still have my googly eyes from 2 years ago when I was going to build Planky. I may still build Planky at some point. Okay, so let's bring you guys over here and get you lined up so that you can see. Okay, I need my iPro too before I do that. So I'm going to end up blocking myself out if I don't. Okay. Okay. You guys will be able to see when I make the first cut. And, yeah. Anybody saying anything right now? Oh, Kingdom, the original idea for Alien 3 would have been better. No, I don't think druids in space would have been a better idea with a wooden spaceship. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking about the wrong one. That's Alien 4. Alien 3, oh yeah, the prison planet. would have focused on Newt and the soldier rather than Ripley. To my understanding, would have also included forces from Space Red. I'm not sure what Space Red is. Then there's also the United Americas, which we saw in Aliens, and the three world empires, Space British Empire. I'd probably be okay with Space British Empire. Okay. Okay, I will leave you guys situated there. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with a extension cord, and I'll get this first cut done. Okay, good news, bad news. Good news, I managed to find 2 extension cords. I can't find my actual long one. Bad news is, supper is ready, and I'm going to be taking a break to eat. So, I'll probably stop the video here fairly quickly. Once I get this cut made, I'll make this one cut, and then I'm going to step away for a while. I will most likely run another stream later. Why did I put these on there? For retention, probably. Sorry, talking to myself again. You'll find a lot of woodworkers do that. Okay. iPro. And Here, Pro. Really? No, you don't want to open? There we go. Okay. So, as I say, I'm going to make one quick cut here, take a break for supper. If the weather is still good in about an hour or so, I'll be back to finish what I'm doing. Okay, thanks, Simon. You take it easy. Let's see. Space Reds are a faction called... Oh, wait, I'm missing something from Kingdom. First found out about them via Dark Horse Comics adaptation of William Gibson's Alien 3. William Gibson wrote an adaptation for Alien 3? I've got to read that. The Space Reds are a faction called the Union of Progress Peoples. Oh, of course. Space Soviets. It'd be cool to see them on screen, or at least cosplay at Comic-Con or something. I'm sure someone has done it. Also, I think I was wrong. It wasn't focused on Newt, it was focused on Bishop and Hicks. Oh, okay. And no, Newt's involved as well. I was mistaken again. Dark Horse Comics made a comic miniseries adapting the screenplay. It seems cool. Also, there's an Aliens tabletop RPG. I don't think I'd play that. Never been a big fan of... I'm not that big a fan of the Alien franchise. I'm a bit of a weirdo. The fourth one is actually my favorite. I know, it's got the monkey in it, but still. Okay. Get this cut done. Oh, God, that hurts. I really hate these earplugs. Okay, I'll be back in about an hour or so, guys. If you're keeping an eye on it. In the meantime, I have to move a bunch of stuff around again. This table needs to go over to this side. There we go. And I'll just bring this right inside. Okay. I'm not even going to bother to knock these down. I'm just going to leave them here so I can grab them again afterwards. But yeah, the next thing I'll be doing will be a bunch of cuts and then pinning in the drawer bottoms, or the frame into the drawer bottoms. All of that should take me, once I get set up again, should take me about an hour or so. So yeah, I'll see you guys again in roughly an hour or so. Okay. I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.